Well, hello and a big, massive to everyone. Massive welcome to everybody that's joined today's session, which is finding customers with Google Maps. Big welcome to all of you. We're going to jump into a couple of housekeeping tips before we get started. But before we get into those housekeeping tips, I suppose we'll do a quick introduction. So my name is Daryl. I'm a trainer for the free skills training program, the Google Digital Garage. And I'm super excited to be delivering today's session. But I'm not here alone. We're very fortunate to have Tessa with us here today, who is also a Google Digital Garage trainer, and she'll be within the chat moderating and answering any questions or queries that you may have, along with sending a couple of links your way. To identify Tessa, if you're on a desktop or a laptop, there's a very good chance that the chat will be on the far right-hand side. If you're on a mobile device, there's a very good chance that the chat will be just below us. With those short introductions, I want to go into a little bit of a housekeeping tip so we can understand a little bit more of how we can get involved and make this as interactive as possible. We will be pausing throughout today's session for any questions that you may have, but as the session is going along, please don't be shy. Myself and Tessa and the team, we love questions and queries, and we love engagement. What makes these sessions come to life is your interactions, your questions, your thoughts, and really just coming together to find out new ways on how we can find customers with Google Maps. Now, if you'd like to find out more, this particular live training is part of a broader offering from the Google Digital Garage. So I hugely encourage you to click in the link in the description below. It'll take you to the website and give you a plethora of information, online courses, and many more live trainings very similar to this one. Next up, if you'd like to get involved with the chat, as mentioned, if you're on a desktop or a laptop, just on the far right-hand side, or if you're on a mobile device, just below us, hopefully you've become accustomed to the YouTube chat. If you have already, jump in and say hello. Let us know where you're tuning in from and ask those questions. If you've got any buzzing questions already, get involved and definitely pop it into there. You may or may not notice that I tend to speak rather fast. I'll do my very best to slow it down, but just to let you know, you can all access the closed captions. In other words, the subtitles for today's session. If you are, I suppose, on a desktop, hover your mouse over the video. You want to find the gear cog, which is the setting options, and find the closed caption options. It's very similar to a mobile device. It'll probably be on the very top right-hand side as you tap onto the video, but it's going to be able to allow you just to follow along just a little bit more effectively. With that being said, we've got a hello already from Carl, calling from Johannesburg, South Africa. He may already have picked up my accent. Fellow South African, big welcome to you. Anybody else jump in and say hi and let us know where you're tuning in from. It'd be a great way to start off today's session. Let's go ahead and get started. Before I get started, to give you a little bit of knowledge around what I know about this area is I've been a trainer for this free skills training program since 2019, but I've also helped so many different charities and companies get themselves on Google and get them more visible and allow them to have their online presence where their customers are able to find them. So my experience has been quite in depth in terms of one-to-one sessions, which I'll jump into in a second, but I've got a lot of experience within this area, and I really hope that you ask questions and really just dig deep and to find out any of your troubles that you are having. But with that being said, what are we going to be covering over the next, what are we going to say, for 55 minutes? We're going to jump into first one is creating your listing and get verified. In order for you to utilize Google Business Profile, which we're going to jump into very shortly, we're going to have to verify. Google has to know, is it your business? And if it is, how do we verify it? How do we make sure it's yours so we can start managing your profile effectively? Then we're going to go ahead and jump into optimizing your listing with the key information. Once you've got verified, once you've got set up, how do you now input the correct information first and foremost, but also add the information that your customers need in order for them to make a decision as to, are they going to be finding where you are, what's your business about, how do I get some images? Again, we're going to dive a little bit more into that later in the session. Last but not least, we're going to look at how we can engage with customers with Google Business Profile features. I could be slightly biased, but I'm a huge fan of Google and the features that Google offers, and they will allow you to start creating opportunities for your customers to either call now, get a delivery, or just quick call to actions to get the ball rolling for them to make a purchase or them to pick up the phone to call you. So that's, we're going to break it down. Sometimes these sessions are going to be a little bit overwhelming as they can be quite intense. So if you are after today's session thinking, wow, that was a great session, Tessa and Daryl did a great job, but I'd like to follow up with a couple of specific questions. Well, that's what we're going to offer, the free one-to-one mentoring sessions. Unfortunately for Carl, this is currently within the UK. Same for Zog and, oh, we got Mizra. You may be able to utilize this. This particular one-to-one mentoring session is offered for businesses and charities within the UK. If you are a business or charity within the UK, grab this link and please make sure you make use of it. If you're not, you know of anybody that's in the UK that would hugely benefit from these one-to-ones, go ahead and grab that link and send it over to them. So we'll be able to be ready and waiting to be there for those one-to-one sessions. The one-to-one sessions are 60-minute long, and you will be paired up with a digital expert within whichever area you'd like to discuss. And hopefully they'll be able to help you move forward with your business. I'll be signposting this a little bit later, but it's a fantastic opportunity for you to have someone to speak to and have a soundboard in terms of your challenges, issues, or even your celebrations of your businesses moving forward. With that, let's go ahead and jump off today's session with a little bit of an activity. In order for us to put ourselves in the customer's mindset, what I would like you all to do is to think about, we're all going to go out for dinner tonight. We all have to eat at some point. So if you're going to go out for dinner tonight, what are you going to do in order to find a restaurant? Now, I'm going to make the assumption that many of you have got your phone at arm's reach, or potentially you're watching this live training on your mobile device. What I'd like you to do is start thinking about, what is that process? We're about to have dinner tonight. We're going to go find a restaurant. Pop into the chat. What are the search terms that you will use, and what is your process? So what search terms will you use to find a restaurant near you, and what is that process? And I'll give an example of that process for me. So let's say, for example, I wanted to have sushi tonight. My process will most likely be not running over to my desktop or to my laptop. I will probably reach into my pockets or pretty much just lean over to grab my mobile device. Once I've grabbed my mobile device, of course, me in particular will jump into Google and I will search sushi near me, for example. Or I'll type in, for example, sushi, tasty sushi, or new sushi restaurant near me. Now, of course, everybody's search terms are going to be different, but what is your restaurant and how are you going to search that? So what are your search terms and what is your process? Pop in as much as you can within the chat, because it's going to be really interesting to see how other people search, because that's really what it comes down to. We're putting ourselves in our customers' shoes. So I'll give you some time to think about that. What search terms would you use to find a restaurant? And then what is that process? And I'll give you the questions on screen. So how did you search for that restaurant, and how did you choose the one that's right for you? So to put it in perspective, I was looking for sushi near me. I'll probably type in something on the lines of any new sushi restaurants near me. And then there'll probably be a whole lot of images and restaurants that will populate within Google search. Once that happens, I will start looking through those, as in terms of the reviews, maybe a couple of images of some really delicious California rolls, in other words, sushi. But there's going to be a lot of different factors on what makes me decide to go with one business rather than another. So far, we have Carl, which is food style, would be restaurants near me. For example, Indian near me, that's a great example. Anybody else? Think about those search terms. Pop it into the chat. It'd be super interesting to know. Once you've found that and you've decided which restaurant you'd like to go, we need to think about, as a business, a charity, or an organization, whoever you are, if you're looking to have your presence on Google and have a Google business profile, how are we going to stand out from the rest? How are we going to do that? We're essentially going to understand the process that we just went through. Now, this is a very, very simple example of the process that your customers may make, but it's always the first thing that we need to think about in order to join the dots between you and your customers online when it comes to Google Maps. So with that being said, a few of you got their call. I'll look at a menu and I'll also see if there's a Google review. That's exactly the same as me, Carl. I pop in the reviews, how many star ratings, how many reviews have they had, how recent were those reviews. And a few of you that are watching, you maybe have some other perspectives. Maybe you like to see amazing images. Maybe you like to see a contact number. Maybe you like to see that they use a third-party delivery like Deliveroo or whichever delivery service that's available in your country. There's a lot of different factors. So always keep that in mind when we're looking to build up presence within Google, is joining the dots between you and your customers. So first off, we're going to look at listing your business on Google Maps. With that being said, another question for you is, what benefits are brought by a Google Maps listing when looking for products or services? First thing that comes to your mind, what benefits are brought by Google Maps listings when looking for a product or service? When I grab my phone, I think the first benefit that I have is as soon as I grab my phone, and it's the mobile device, I have so much information at my fingertips. So the first number one benefit is that the majority of the world or population will be able to find your business through the device that they have. But of course, we have to be there in order for them to find you. So what benefits are brought by a Google Maps listing in particular when looking for a product or a service? Pop it into the chat. Myself and Tessa would love to know. And by the way, there's no such thing as the wrong answer right here. We're coming up with ideas, we're coming up with thoughts that we'd like to come together as a collective to start thinking about new ways to be found through Google Maps. What I find, again, Google Maps listing, looking for products or services, once I do find a business that many of you have found through that process, you're going to be able to click onto one button to be able to call them, for example. Or you can tap onto another button, for example, directions, which will then show you exactly how to get to that location. There are almost endless opportunities and benefits from this Maps listing or this listing in general. So let's jump into a little bit more in detail in terms of a complete listing within Google Maps. Just like anything online, if you've got a website, a blog, a Instagram, a Facebook, or any social media presence, the more the better in terms of the more information you can provide, the better Google will understand you, but most importantly, the more your customers will be able to understand and get the information that they're looking for. So once you create a profile, in this particular instance, we're going to be focusing on Google Maps and Google Profile, which is going to be, you're most likely to be considered reputable. Coming back to that example that we spoke about earlier around when we're going through that process of putting ourselves in the customer's shoes, sometimes during that process while we're searching for businesses, if you find a business that's got tons of information, maybe only a few ratings, but it's got so much information that I basically know exactly what I need because it's got it right there. However, there may be another listing with more reviews, but less information. Now, they maybe get some reputation and some trustworthiness through those reviews, but if the profile is incomplete, I generally will steer away from that, generally speaking, because again, the more information, the more reputable and the more information that they have. Next up, you're more likely to attract more online visits. Once you have created a Google business profile, which is predominantly made to drive local SEO and get yourself on the map within Google, that's going to allow you to now add in the location. So the location of the actual business. If I had to go to Brighton down south in the UK and there was an ice cream store 5 miles away from you, and I typed in ice cream store, there's a very high chance that that ice cream store, if it's on Google Maps or Google has a Google business profile, that it will reflect within my search because it's in my locality. So it's really, really important that we populate this profile and we also make sure that we have the opportunity to attract online visits. And you're also more likely to lead to a purchase. Why are you more likely to lead to a purchase? Because you are giving your particular customers lots of call to actions. Now, this could be directions, call you, maybe even go straight to your website to lead to a purchase if you have an e-commerce store, but essentially that complete listing, and this is a never-ending process, by the way, as you evolve, as your business or charity evolves, there's going to be new news. And when there's new news and more information, we want to make sure we keep this updated on a regular basis. So let's put this in perspective. I can talk about this for days, but let's jump into a couple of great case studies that I would love to highlight. So on your screen right now, you can see a couple of case studies that of 3 businesses that have listed themselves on Google Maps. Number one is Go East Chinese Supermarket, a fantastic story that I'll be jumping into shortly. We got Uncle John's Bakery and the Little Box of Books. Let's just jump into a couple of their stories. But as I go through these stories, I really just want to bring across that everyone has the ability to do this. So let's jump into the first one, which is going to be Go East Chinese Supermarket. I'm going to go ahead and read this for you. So Go East Chinese Supermarket listed themselves on Google Maps once lockdown started. Sorry for the memory of bringing that up. But once they started during lockdown, this led to a 100% increase in online visits. Most of these visitors were local, and this meant that the owner could market her products online and let customers know that their supermarket was still open for business. We've all been through that very dark part of our lives. However, there was a massive opportunity that came from that. Another example would be the Uncle John's Bakery is another business that was able to benefit from Google Maps during the pandemic Baker Samuel's business was able to inform customers of their new opening times, their new practices, and provide them with links to the online shop, enabling them to continue to sell during lockdown. Now, again, even if we mitigate and just forget about lockdown for a second, the ability to create a business that is brick and mortar and drives footfall, by adding the Google Business Profile, you add a whole other dimension to the customers that are going to be available to come to your business, which is essentially what Uncle John's Bakery has done. And once they've made that connection with the businesses or become more visible within Google Maps, you are now allowing yourself to communicate the information about your business seamlessly without shouting about it all the time. It's always going to be there if they find it. Or if they find it is the other question. The next one is going to be the wonderful little box of books. Probably one of my favorite stories or case studies. Founder Lindsay Pollard soon realized that the increased number of children being homeschooled meant that the need for books would increase dramatically. She used Google Tools to find new customers, and since March, her website visits have tripled, leading her to sell more books than ever before. In fact, Little Box of Books sold more books than ever sold in 1 month. So essentially what we're looking to bring across here is that there is fantastic case studies and there is fantastic opportunities and benefits for all of our businesses and charities to have this listing within Google Maps and being found within Google Search, which is essentially the same way. So how do we get started with this? Well, there's essentially 4 steps. We have create your business on Google Business Profile. Then you're going to complete your profile, and I'll talk a little bit more about that shortly. Then verify your business. In order for you to update this profile, Google needs to verify that it is actually your business before you can start managing and changing descriptions and names and photos, etc. Last but not least, you're then going to populate your listings. Remember, the more information, the better. But let's jump into the first step, which is creating a listing on Google Business Profile. Now, Google Business Profile has been around for quite some time. It used to be called Google My Business, and there used to be an application that you were able to download through the Apple Store or through Google Play, but there is no longer an app available, which is kind of beneficial to the majority because Google have made it super easy for you to find your business and manage your business directly through Google Maps and Google Search. So essentially, you won't have to download any apps. All you're going to have to do is go to business.google.com or essentially go to Google and type in Google Business Profile. Once you have done that, we're then going to make sure that you have ensured your profile is complete. When it comes to the address, we need to remember that once you input that address, you will then allow people to find out where your location is, which can be beneficial for many individuals. Then we're going to jump into the opening hours. I'm going to go through this very, very quickly, but if you do not change your opening or closing times, this could have an adverse effect or a pain point for your customers. For example, after the pandemic, I wanted to have a coffee. I wanted to find a new coffee shop. Went through that whole process that we've just been through at the beginning. I found the coffee shop online. They said that they were open to a certain time. I walked over to that coffee shop, which took me about 50 minutes. No train smash. But once I got there and arrived, the coffee shop was closed. So the moral of the story is here is once you create this listing, we want to make sure it's updated all of the time. If we change opening hours, we're going to make sure we change the Google Business Profile. Then you want to think about the contact details. What contact details do you want to have within this profile that is going to be easily accessible and that someone's actually going to be able to get hold of you? Whether that's going to be a phone number, whether that's going to be a specific phone number, your business phone number. Thinking about that is very important. Visual content, I'll jump a little bit more into visual content in a second because, of course, we're all visual individuals, or we like to learn more through visuals. So thinking about how we can now personalize your profile to a certain degree of having some branding. So when someone comes across your profile, it's almost like they know exactly who you are. Then we're going to go jump into getting verified. Once you have claimed your business profile, you're then going to have to verify that the business is yours. There's quite a few ways to do this, but generally, once you have created your profile, you will have a dashboard that looks very similar to what you see on screen right now. Again, there have been a few changes since this training was developed, and you will be able to find the Verify Now button. Now, there's 3 ways to verify your business. Either you're going to have to pick up a phone and you get a phone call with a set through the phone or through an email, but majority of the time, Google will send you a postcode with a 5-digit code. Within that postcard with a 5-digit code, you're then going to take that code and go into your account, input that code, and you will then be able to verify that your business is actually your business. Alternatively, again, this can be done over the phone or via email. Which option is available to you will really determine which business, the locality, and many other factors, but they always make it super easy for you to get that verified. Next up, we're going to jump into populate your Google Maps listing. Managing your listing, opening hours, and keeping the content fresh. The way I like to think about your Google business profile, it's kind of like a social media profile, but it's not, but it allows your customers to find the core information that they're looking for in order to find out more about your business. So manage your listing, opening times up to date, and keep the content fresh. If you are posting within your social media profiles or updating your website, make sure to keep your Google business profile in mind. So let's go ahead and jump in to see if there's any questions. Please pop into the chat I don't see there's any questions as of yet. So far, we've got Carl, who's been absolutely fantastic within the chat. Thank you so much for getting involved. For anybody else that's currently watching right now, if you have any questions or queries, pop it into the chat. We love questions and we love problem solving as well. But with that being said, I don't see any questions. Let's go ahead and jump into optimizing your listing. So we had optimizing your listing. So far, we've thought about the steps to set up your Google business profile. Remember, there is no longer a Google business profile app. This can be done directly within Google Search or Maps. Once you've claimed it, you've verified it, you'll then have the ability to manage that profile. Once you've managed that profile and verified it, how do we now optimize your listing to ensure that the customers find the information that they're looking for? So let's jump into a couple of tips. First and foremost, include key information. Now, what key information is to one business may be different to another, but we need to think about the very essential key information in terms of what is this business about? What is your business? Do you have a description? Do you have a bio? Do you have few sentences to describe what is your business and what you have to offer? What's your USP? What is your business known for? Then we want to think about how we gain customer reviews. Very, very important. And I'd like to just pop it out there right now. And I'm assuming that many of you have joined today and don't exactly know if you have a Google business profile or not. If you do, pop in a yes. If you don't, pop in no. Do you have a Google business profile at this very moment in time? Because that's going to be super interesting to know. If you do, we can maybe change this up a little bit, ever so slightly. So keep coming back on track in terms of the tips. We want to include the key information, gain customer reviews, utilize posts and photos, and leverage insights. Well, how do we do that? Well, the key information, again, is going to be focused around the business and what you have to offer. Gaining those customer reviews is really, really important. Why are some Google reviews not verified? That's a fantastic question, Enduring, and thank you for popping into the chat. I'm pretty sure Tessa will be jumping onto that question very shortly, and I'll get to it very, very shortly too, if not. So let's jump into as much information as possible. This part is really about how do we understand if there's more information. 96% are more likely to visit the business with opening hours on its listing. If you have a physical location and you want people to come to your location, having those opening hours and closing times clear as day is really just going to increase the likelihood of them visiting your business. Second of all, 42% increase in direction requests for businesses with photos. And that's something to keep in mind. So if you have a business, regardless of what that business is, adding photos is really going to help diversify that profile and also make it more unique to what your business is. Talking about photos, we're going to talk about how do we kind of compose those photos very shortly if you haven't set that up already. 90% are more likely to interact with you if your mobile number is visible. Now, it could be your mobile number, it could be straight to your website. Having that call to action is really, really important. So ensure your core information are up to date. Opening hours, I've already spoken about this, how important it is to make sure that those opening hours are clear as day. Next up is add your business description. When it comes to your business description or pretty much anything online, having that information there and available is really going to probably be one of the first things that your customers are going to come across. Thinking about that process that we spoke about earlier around their customer's journey of being able to find your business, one of the first things that they may look at is the reviews. But many of those searching may want to look at the description to see what is the business actually about. What is different from another business? So having that business description updated on a regular basis is incredibly important. Now, leaning towards this next one, again, forgive me for bringing up some memories of a past that we've all been through, but when pandemic happens, or when something out of the ordinary, or even when something happens within the business that you are currently operating at the moment, how can we communicate this with our customers without avoiding any potential misinformation or outdated information? So when something on the likes of COVID comes around, just like those case studies that we spoke about before, you have the ability to update those opening hours. If you were closed at 4 and you want to change it to 5, you have the ability to do so. And keep in mind, if people are looking for businesses through Google, which most of us are, there is a high chance that your Google business profile will be shown first, where they'll be able to see those opening hours. Attributes to the service options. So maybe you deliver, maybe you don't deliver. So thinking about what is your business offering, for example, like a third-party button to an e-commerce, but what are the service options? Delivery, no delivery, for example. You can add a post to your profile. If you are posting within social media and you're posting images or videos, we want to make sure we utilize that content to keep your Google business profile updated as well. You can turn on messaging. You turn on messaging, you now enable a two-way conversation between you and your customer. There could be a whole lot of communication points with your business, but Google Business Profile will really allow perhaps new customers to directly message you to find out more information. Business description, already been through that one. Important that we update that on a regular basis. Hours and services disclaimer. Next one, utilize Google Trends. Now, a quick one for those who haven't heard of Google Trends. Hopefully, Tessa will be able to pop that into the chat. But a Google Trends is a fantastic free tool that Google offers to anyone that wants to use it, which will help you understand what keywords people are using around a specific phrase or word. What's the popularity of those keywords to find out what's trending. Next up, highlight temporary closures. All of this information is essentially going to allow you to update your profile so your customers will know exactly what's happening. Next up is creating engaging posts. Oh, went a little bit too fast there. So in creating engaging posts, you have the ability, just like you post on social media, you have the ability to post within Google Business Profile. Now, what I'm not saying is that people are going to be grabbing their phones, jumping onto Google Maps and starting searching through businesses just for the sake of it. But by adding more information and posting promotions, announcements, up and coming information is really going to help the customers understand more about the business. What's being offered? Are there any competitions? Is there anything exciting happening around this business? Because when they do find you, wow, there's a lot going along with this business. Provide a call to action. Use photos and videos to start capturing the attentions of your customers. The photos could be whatever photos you believe will really showcase your business in the best possible light. Write a clear description, and then, of course, ensure your posts are accurate. If you post something that is accurate this week and is currently working on a few events, we want to make sure we come back to that a week later and repost if any information has been changed. Now, next up, what I want to jump into is reviews. Why are reviews so important? I'd like you to pop that into the chat right now. If you're a business, charity, or organization, hopefully you understand the benefits of having reviews. But what's the first thing that comes to your mind? Pop it into the chat. Why are reviews so important? I could probably talk about this for hours, but reviews are almost like golden nuggets. It is essentially allowing people or others to shine a light on your business and shine a light on your business with credibility and hopefully give you trustworthiness. So why are reviews so important? Because they are independent and real. Carl, I absolutely love that. Anybody else pop into the chat as well? Why are reviews so important? If you are looking to create a Google business profile, of course, this is going to be the best place for you to house all your reviews. I could be slightly biased when there could be lots of traffic coming from a lot of different directions, but I think every business, charity, or organization should have a location where your customers can go to basically review what other people talk about your business. And Google Business Profile is a great way to showcase that. Reviews, star ratings, encourage those reviews as often as possible. Every time you have an interaction with your customers, ask them, please leave us a review. It could be in your follow-up emails. But by enabling your customers to start adding more reviews, not only is it going to give you more trustworthiness, it's also going to be able to give Google more information about your business. Not only are you updating the profile with images and photos and descriptions and call to actions and directions and having all that set up, you're now going to be able to add extra elements, a third-party perspective, which is going to come from others. Once that is now within your Google Business Profile, you're then going to be able to build up credibility, which is essentially going to go, well, Google's going to be like, well, there's a lot of focus around this business. It may become more relevant. If it becomes more relevant, there is a higher chance that someone may come across this profile before any others. So remember, reviews are incredibly important, and the only way to do that is to get more reviews is to ask for them as much as possible. How do we do that? Well, we want to encourage customers to leave reviews. Quick statistic on this one, 2 out of 3 of people say positive reviews were an important factor when deciding which business to buy from. Reviews, reviews, reviews. Make sure we are encouraging them on a daily basis or a weekly basis. Next question I have for all of you is, what could you do to encourage customer reviews? Now, this would be super interesting from anybody that's watching to pop that into the chat right now. The reason being is because sharing is caring. I'm going to give you a couple of examples of how I believe you can gain more customer reviews, because I've actually done it myself, and I'll run you through a story. While I run you through the story of how we can encourage customer reviews, pop into the chat right now. What could you do to encourage customer reviews? Or perhaps, what are you currently doing as a business, charity, or organization to gain those reviews? Are you asking for it? Is there a specific moment of that customer's journey when you're requesting more reviews? Are you going to networking events? Pop it into the chat. How are you encouraging customer reviews? To paint a picture for you, I was very, very fortunate in just before the pandemic. I was fortunate to be in the physical location of the Google Digital Garage, where people could come to our location, where we would deliver trainings very similar to the trainings that you are experiencing right now. But we were only in a location for just under 6 months. During those 6 months, the team and I, we decided to create as many reviews as possible. And in order for us to get over 360 reviews, I believe, within that short period, we went through a few different phases. The first one was, well, let's just, after every training, ask everybody, please leave us a review. That would be amazing. And then they left the location, and then they just disappeared. Some of them came back a few times, so we got the reviews. But the majority of the time, when you ask someone to leave your review, they're not going to do it, not because they don't like you or they don't like your services. They have a life. They have things to do. So the best way that I particularly found to get more reviews is when any opportunity where there was a customer who came up to us, or in this case, there was an individual who came up to us afterwards and said, we love that training. It really helped us with our business, or it helped us build up our CV, whatever it may have been. We always, of course, accept that amazing feedback. We always responded with something along the lines of, you know what would mean the world to us if you could take what you just said and pop it into Google. Leave us a review, take exactly what you just said, and it's really going to help us get more reach and get more people to come into our doors and have more moments like you just had. So essentially, the moral behind the story is, every time you get an opportunity where customers compliment or say nice things about your business, try to get them to document that within the Google Business Profile. That's really going to help you long term. So encourage them as much as possible. We didn't get any feedback as in terms of anybody. How are you currently encouraging those reviews? Pop it into the chat. Be super interesting to know if anybody is encouraging those reviews and how you're doing it. Next up, we're going to jump into utilizing photos and videos to stand out. Now, I'm not going to practice to the choir, because I know many of us, we understand attention spans are low. But when you create a profile that is going to almost take your customers through a journey through videos and photos, it's going to hopefully capture their attention and almost motivate them, or to a certain degree, get them to your actual location. So 90% of people say that they are more likely to visit a business with photos on Google results page. How do we create these photos and videos? How are we going to create it in a way that's going to be align with your business? Well, there's a couple of top tips for taking photos. Number one, the lighting, the focus, the editing, and the framing. We've now created a profile. You've created all the descriptions, all the information that you can currently think of to update that profile to the actual maximum. But now we now need to think about creating photos and images that are going to capture the attention of your customers. So let's look at a couple of do's and don'ts when it comes to those photos. When we look at the photos on the top, those are all great photos. The ones at the bottom are the ones we want to try avoid. So photos that are in frame, that they are clear, not fuzzy, and they are in focus to what you are looking to depict within that photo. When you look at the images below, they're a little bit blurred. If we look at the photo at the bottom left-hand side, I believe it's just over here, the exterior. If you had to look at that photo, do you know what that business provides? Two people high-fiving. I believe this could be a bar, this could be a coffee shop, this could be a workspace. I'm not quite sure what that location is. The second one at the bottom middle, it's completely out of focus, and in my opinion, has no place in a Google Business Profile photo gallery. This very bottom at the right, those are people working, but it doesn't really give context to what the business is or what does it offer more than just an exchange of payments or people standing behind a location. So let's paint a picture. Let's just jump straight into it. So we're going to go ahead and jump into exterior photos. When we're looking at exterior photos, we want to improve that customer journey. Remember, we've created a Google Business Profile within Google. It's a digital format of your business. We need to now liven this up and make sure that when people find your business, they look at your photos, it's almost as if they're standing in front of your business in real life. So first and foremost, we need to think about your business name. Is your business name visible? That's going to allow them to join the dots immediately. They've Googled you or they found you through Google. They've now found your title. When they click onto your photo and look at the front of your business, we want to make sure we join the dots. It's so simple, but these simple joining of the dots is going to build up the confidence, I suppose, the trustworthiness from your customers. Next up, when you think about the shop frame is in shop frame. The shop front is in frame. As much as we like to be artistic, well, I most likely do. And when you take photos, you're going to want to take an angle. You want to make it look cool. You want to take like a perspective. We don't want to do that. We want to make sure it's the perspective of someone standing in front of your business. Stand up in frame and rectangular, all in one frame. Last but not least, you could locate this business if you walk down the street. That's essentially the picture we're looking to paint, is a picture. Once they come across this, they know exactly what it looks like once they get to your business in real person. Next up is the interior photos. The interior photos is a great way to showcase and infer what your business is about. In this particular instance, we have this image is bright and well lit. Of course, we don't want any dark photos, which is going to discourage or make it any gloomy. Then we want to make sure there's a wide selections of products on show. Now, this really comes down to what business you are. If you're a barber, you want to make sure you got some scissors or something that's relevant to that particular location. If you're a florist, you want to make sure there's some beautiful plants and flowers that are within this photo. The last point is we want to make sure that within this picture, it infers what the business is about. When I look at this photo, there's a coffee machine. There is someone behind a coffee grinder, and it's on a coffee counter. I immediately think it's either a cafe or a coffee shop, or it's a restaurant of some sort, but it infers what the business is about. Next up is the photos at work. When it comes to the photos at work, we also want to add value to your business. We want to make sure that it showcases what do people experience if they decided to come to get my haircut, or come to my florist, or come to your location. What are you going to experience? When I look at this photo, I think, wow, I wouldn't mind getting my hair cut there. It's a clean, quality environment. The gentleman is well dressed. It looks incredibly professional. And it's kind of ticking all the boxes for me. And this could be a potential deciding factor if I actually want to go to this business or not. Last one is you get the flavor of the atmosphere and the decor of the business, as mentioned before. So it's really, really important that when it comes to these photos that you be creative, but be in a creative way that really tells a story about what your business is. What does it look like from the outside? What does it look like from the inside? What does it look like when the work is actually being done? A few simple photos is really going to allow you to pop and show what your business is about. And by the way, working with many, many businesses in the past, especially during the pandemic, I've come across many profiles in my time, and a lot of businesses neglect to do this. The ones that neglect to do this often get frustrated to say, well, why are some people going to this business and not this business? Well, we need to start joining the dots and thinking about how do we improve this profile. Next up, once you've got this profile up and running, we want to think about what's working and what's not working. So once you have this profile with all the information that you want to provide, opening times, closing times, third-party providers, call to actions, photos, videos, posts, news, as much information as possible, and you now started to gain some traction within this profile, we now need to understand where is this traffic coming from, and also what are people doing once they pop into this profile. So for example, don't worry about having to squint. The first one is around the total amount of searches. So how many people are searching for your business? How many people found you directly? In other words, how many people went to Google and actually typed in your business word for word? And then how many people found you through discovery? Next up, you're going to think about how many people reviewed your profile over a certain period of time. And what you'll notice is there's a massive peak during the certain period of a certain day of during the month. That's a great way to go back to look at, well, why did that happen? How do we improve that? And how do we improve more of the direct searches than discovery, for example? Next up is phone calls. This is if your business is getting regular phone calls on a daily basis, you can start to gauge to find out where are most of the phone calls coming in, what time of day. And if you can find out that the majority of the phone calls are becoming between 2 and 4 o'clock, maybe as a business, you can think maybe we need an extra hand. Maybe we need an extra team member to be around the phones during this time. Last but not least is the direction requests. How many of them were actually clicking onto direction requests? And you will be able to use this information to improve your marketing, but also to improve the connection with you and your customer. With that, the insights is a conversation for a whole other day, but really just to break it down, once you've got the traction, once you've got quite a few searches and you've got quite a few people coming in and out through this profile, there's a couple of things that we can jump into. And what you'll learn from those insights is how customers are finding your listing. That's super important because once you can find out how they're finding you, you can enhance that journey. Next up, what did they do once they found you? Were they calling you? Were they going through to find more information? Did they look at the photos? Where were they coming from? Really important. And then when people engage the most, for example, the phone calls. If a lot of people are phoning during a certain period of day, how do we improve that from a business standpoint, but also make sure the resources are available when that traffic is high? Last up is how your engagement compares to similar listings. This is also super important because we all have competitors. We are going to have people doing something that's very similar to us. So how do we compare to similar listings? Once you've got that information, we're going to look at iterating and improving this moving forward to get more visibility on Google. So I want to stop talking for a while and I want to make sure we pass over an activity to you. So here we have some insights from Google Business Profile. And this is the first one. We've got two, by the way. The first one is photo views. On the x-axis, we have the amount of views. And on the y-axis, we have the date, which is pretty much for the month of July. And over a certain period of that month, there have been quite a few views and a few drops and a few views and a few drops. The question I'd like to ask you is, what would you do with this information? If this was your insights from your Google Business Profile listing, what information can you take from that? And what could you do with that information? So while you think about that, I'm going to read through something a little bit earlier. So image A shows a good amount of images viewed through the business, and it's certainly encouraging because there is views. I mean, 24 people looking at those photos is always a great standpoint. But you'll see there's quite a bit of inconsistency when it comes to those reviews. So what I gather from that is, okay, we're getting views, but how can I use this information to improve? Well, maybe if I go through the posts that I created for those photos, was I posting irregularly? Maybe I post once a week, maybe I post once a day. But what you'll notice, if I started to post more on a regular basis on those photos, I'd probably get more views. And if I'm looking to increase the amount of views and traffic to that profile, well, by using this, I can start improving those photos and maybe posting on a daily basis or maybe every second day. But pop into the chat. What do you think? Or what would you do with these insights? Because that's only one perspective that I have. But we've got x-axis, the amount of views, y is the month incomplete, and there's quite a few views, but a little bit inconsistency. What would you do with that? While you think about that, feel free to type it up and pop it into the chat. But let's go ahead and jump into the next one, which is going to be, what would you do if you saw these insights? The first one was around photos and views over the month of July, and it was quite inconsistent. Now, B is really shows the amount of Google search, which were far few from maps than from actual search itself. So what this is telling us is the amount of views that you received through Google search was a lot higher than listings on maps. So in other words, many of your customers were going directly to Google search and searching for your business, or maybe finding a business that's similar to yours, opposed from those who actually went into Google Maps and went for businesses and search for businesses in that area. What do you depict from that? What information can you use from that? Well, I can think of a few, but again, my perspective is very different to many others, depending on what your business goals are at the moment. And if you particularly wanted to increase your customer views, well, search is doing well. If search is doing well, how do we then improve the listings on map? Well, maybe there's a certain information that we need to improve within our maps search. So what would you do? I don't see any responses as of yet, but it'd be really, really interesting to know if anybody can come up with ways to improve your strategy or your efforts based off these insights. Essentially, what we're looking to provide here is that within your Google business profile, there is going to be traffic. There are going to be people coming in back and forth through your profile, requesting information, doing certain activities. The best thing that you can do as a business or charity is dive into those and understand what is it that your business is, what are your customers doing, and how are they finding you, and how can you improve upon that? So no answers as of yet, but what could you use insights for new customers? Well, it can help you understand your audience's behavior. So if, say, for example, we saw the previous chart is that many people are searching through Google search. If many of your customers are searching through Google search for businesses like yours, the next thing I can think about is, well, if they're searching through Google search, maybe we can start doing some advertising. And if you'd like to learn more about advertising or get started with digital advertising, click on the link in the description below. There's another great live training focused on get started with digital advertising. Next up, you can adapt to their needs. So just like we're going to enhance the amount of traffic by adding adverts within Google search, because we identified that many people are coming through search, the next one would be to adapt to their needs. So when we looked at the first one, which is maybe there was a certain path of how they're finding you, well, how do we improve that? How do we use that information to give your customers exactly what they're looking for? In other words, maybe they got direction requests on a regular basis on a certain period of the week or a certain period of the month. How can we then enhance that and give more information within posts on how people can find you, or maybe add more photos to allow people to find you more directly or show them through those photos? Next up, you can reach new customers. Now, when it comes down to reaching new customers, you'll be able to depict through those insights what's happening within your profile and then adapt to that accordingly. So let's see if there's any questions as of yet, because we've got about 12 minutes left before we're going to wrap up the end of today's session. So if you have any questions or queries, pop it into the chat. We'd absolutely love to know. Before we jump into that, we're going to jump into engage customers with Google Business Profile features. Quick recap. What have we done so far? First and foremost, we jumped into creating a Google Business Profile. We understand that there is no longer a Google Business Profile app. This can be done directly through Google search or through Google Maps. Once you've found that business, you can either create a business or you can claim a business and make sure that you verify it through 3 different ways, which is either going to be through the phone, through an email, or through a 5-digit code sent from Google to your postcode to use that information to verify it. Once we've then verified it, we then input and update that profile as much as possible. Once you've updated the profile and you've gained some traction and some traffic, we then need to tap into the insights to find out what's working, what's not working, what are our business goals right now, what are those goals? And then by looking at those insights, how can we improve using those insights, understanding our customers' behaviors, and really improving that for the next month. But now what we're going to do is we look at how we can now enhance your Google Business Profile with the features. There's tons of features that are now going to make your life a lot easier along with many of your customers. So use even more Google Business Profile features. You're going to have categories. Now, talking about categories, we'll talk about that very shortly, because when you look to create a new business profile, it's very important that you categorize your business correctly, because this could potentially be a real issue along the lines. If you don't categorize yourself correctly, maybe customers will find it difficult to find your business. Then bookings. We'll be able to create maybe a link for people to click on a link to actually book onto a dinner appointment, for example, whichever business you are. Then create a street view, make some websites, and give gift cards and donations. The first one I want to jump into is categories. When it comes to those categories, we're going to have a primary category for every business. So in some cases, there isn't an exact category for every single business in the entire world. So what you're going to do is you're going to find a category that is as closely related to your business as possible. To give an example of this is, let's say, for example, you're a nail salon, and all you do is categorize yourself as a salon. Well, if you categorize yourself just as a salon, that is a broad spectrum as to what businesses are within a salon, rather than inputting a nail salon, which categorizes your business a lot more efficiently than if you just said, categorize yourself as just a salon. The next one is you can actually add in additional categories, which will then give further context to what your business is. Primary category, how does your business fit within that category? And then secondly, if you're going to have secondary categories, what other categories would you potentially be associated with or best suits your business? Next up, we're going to look at how we can increase your bookings. Turning on bookings enables your business to generate reservations and appointments, helping you guarantee custom or action from your customer's perspective. Quick statistic, 50% of customers want to schedule an appointment when searching for a business online. So if 50% of customers want to schedule an appointment and you don't have a button to click on, that is a missed opportunity. But again, businesses and customers may differ. Understanding that process and understanding that journey of your customers will really help you adapt accordingly and maybe create a button for them to schedule an appointment if that's what your business has to offer. Booking links aren't available for all businesses, by the way. You need to be able to have a business that requires reservations in order to use this functionality. Now, this functionality will adapt according to your business and also depending on what you categorize your business as. You can add this link to your Google Business Profile listing, which makes it super easy for people to book and make an appointment. You can also use a third-party booking system to manage your bookings. Managing your bookings through another provider gives your web and app services that you use to your customer Google account. And your customers also benefit from integrations with Google products like Calendar, automatic reminders, so they don't miss their booking. If you don't have a third-party booking provider, you can choose one of Google's supported scheduler providers, including Bookatable, Treatwell, or TripAdvisor, and many of those are going to be able to help you, again, create that seamless experience for your customers. Last but not least, you'll be able to track your bookings. Just like those insights, if you can start to track your bookings or the appointments that you have, again, you'll then be able to start allocating more resources to when those bookings occur so the customers have a better experience through that process. Next one would be to add a street view to those listings. What are the benefits of adding a street view? Pop it into the chat. Be super interesting, probably pretty obvious, but what are the benefits of adding a street view to your listing? To take that even further, while you're thinking about the benefits, pop it into the chat. Myself and Tessa would love to know, but there is also an extra step that you could take if you do have that street view listing. The next step would be to add a virtual tour. Once you add in a virtual tour, that will really allow your customers to immerse themselves in your business. Let's say, for example, you have a pristine location like an art museum or whichever location that you do have. Creating a virtual tour will increase that customer's journey. So essentially what I'm looking to get to is when you have a street view, you are going to allow your customers to not only find you on Google Business Profile, but once they look at your business within Google Business Profile, you're going to almost know exactly what your business is once, or what your business looks like once they do arrive. How can Street Views help your business? Provides even more information for your customers, enables customers to make decisions. Now, those decisions can come and vary. Let's say, for example, you're an individual or customers, and you want to make it as accessible as possible. Perhaps there's someone with a disability that is in a wheelchair, for example, or just does not have the ability to go up 5 steps or 5 flights of stairs to get to your location. This is really good information for those who want to visualize how do they get to your business? Where is it? Is it on the 5th floor? Is there certain pathways that I need to go through to access your restaurant, for example? But all of this information is going to enhance the customer's journey and enables your customers to make a decision as, okay, well, I can go there because it has the accessibility that is available to me. Next up, helps your customers find you. And that's what we want all your customers to do, is find you as soon as possible. Next up, you can build a free website. Now, talking about free websites within the Google Business Profile, you can use something called Google Sites, which will allow you to create a free website with the information that you have provided within your Google Business Profile. Building a free website for your business is really, really simple. You're going to go to your dashboard. As you can see on screen right now, you're going to click onto website. And if you have the information that is already within your profile and you click on to create a website, it's going to take all that information and create a very simple static web page. In other words, it's going to have a simple navigation bar, maybe a title with a call to action and maybe some images. You will then be able to change that and adapt the theme to your brand colors and change the font to your brand fonts and change it accordingly. Again, very simple way to create a simple website. If you get stuck with this by any means, please make sure you book into that free one-to-one mentoring session and we'll help take you through that process. But in my opinion, creating a website in Google Site is really, really simple. If you've used Google Docs or PowerPoint presentation or Google Slides, you will probably know how to move some images and text around, which will be able to allow you to have a website for free to get the ball rolling. But most importantly, if you don't have a website, creating one on Google Sites will allow you to create a simple website with a simple call to action. CTA, very, very important when it comes down to their customer's journey. Remember, once they get and they found a little bit more about you, they kind of want to go with your business. And how do we give them a button to click on to either call you, create an appointment, or in this case, it's going to showcase your business with a massive call to action. Well, we've got about 2 minutes left. So I'm going to jump to see if there's any questions or queries. Pop it into the chat. If you have any questions or queries, I don't see any as of yet. Make sure we slide down. Here we go. From Enduring Euphoria. Beautiful name, by the way. Why are some Google reviews not verified? That is a very interesting question and really depends on many different factors. I won't be able to give you the definitive answer. However, when it comes to those reviews, maybe you can book into a free one-to-one and we can look at your business in particular. But there's many different factors and I wouldn't be able to give you a clear answer if I don't have more further context. But it's a great question. Carl, can we only do Google reviews for businesses that are listed on Google Maps? No. So Carl, great question. Carl, if you have a Google business profile and the business has verified that that business is theirs, people will be able to leave a review within that Google profile. Essentially, the Google business profile is going to be listed within Google search, but it's also going to be within Google Maps and essentially the same thing. Great question. Perfect. Easy to find address. Arath, I'm not sure. Easy to find address. Oh, yes. In terms of having people to find that location, having a street view, having those images and having that journey all laid out is going to help your customers find you. So that's pretty much it for today's session. We're going to see what are your next steps. Well, there are so many next steps that you can jump into. As mentioned, this particular live training is part of a broader offering from the Google Digital Garage. There are so many amazing trainings. Click on the link in the description below, and there are future trainings, new sessions that are coming up. Very exciting. So hopefully you'll get involved with the Google Digital Garage with other parts of maybe your upskilling process around social media, maybe around AI, for example. But there is so much exciting content around the corner. So make sure you click on the link in the description below. We've got many face-to-face sessions if you're in the UK and many, many more of these online sessions, which we are offering right now. Next up, remember, if you are struggling, there is that free one-to-one mentoring sessions. If you are in the UK, you're a business or a small business or a charity, please book into these. The link is g.co/UK mentoring. Myself, Tessa, who's been a wonderful moderator today, and many other digital experts will be ready and waiting to help you within an hour. Make sure you come with questions, make sure you come with an objective, and we'll do our very best to help you with any challenges or be a soundboard for you to help your business skyrocket and move forward. But I'd like to say a big, big thank you to everybody for joining today's session, whether you just stood by and absorbed that information. Myself, Tessa, and the team, we love feedback. So in order for you to give us feedback, please go to goo.gle/digital garage feedback, and we'd love to know what you thought about today's session. It'll take you maybe 2, 3, maybe maximum 5 minutes to do. It would really help us move forward. You see what I just did there? I'd highly recommend you all do something very similar. Every time you have interactions with your audience, your customers, ask them some feedback. Whether it's a survey or a review for your business, please make sure you are asking them on a regular basis. But without further ado, if you enjoyed today's session, please give us your feedback. A massive thank you to Tessa. Without further ado, look after yourself, look after each other, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.